I'm Marta Czurylowics. Thanks for joining us here on the Weather Network. Let's take a quick look at the precipitation forecast for the Atlantic. And as you can see, that low is just parked over the Avalon for tomorrow, Monday. And with that, you can see some scattered non-severe showers. The heat is still in the Maritimes and Newfoundland. 25 in Halifax, feeling like 27. And then 26 in Halifax for Tuesday, feeling like 29. 25 in Charlottetown, feeling like 28. Moving on to northwestern Ontario, the storms are moving in actually into northeastern Ontario, and the risk will remain in place for areas in between Timmins and Chapleau, Sault Ste. Marie. You can see this risk map here shows the area in orange where there's some potential for heavy rainfall and small hail, and the areas around could see some non-severe thunderstorms right in through here and through cottage country and just near the lakes there. But the temperature is still beautiful. It's rising. Feels like, or it is 27 in Niagara Falls over Monday night and Tuesday, as well Toronto 21 degrees. Let's take a look at the future radar for the prairies. It's sort of dissipating, not much happening in the provinces there, but it comes back on Monday afternoon, and in the area of the foothills you could see some severe storms. Let's take a look at Red Deer, Alberta. And so the risk area, as I mentioned, will be in the northern foothills right above Edmonton. But here's a quick little fact for you, a piece of interesting information. Edmonton, it's been a pretty rainy July for you, one of the rainiest since 1982. 163.6 millimeters fell, but not the most. I believe it was over 200 millimeters. That was the rainiest, and it was in 1906. And for the west, there's an area of high pressure that's sitting just over top the southern part of BC, bringing with it some warm temperatures, but that's also fueling the storms that will happen tomorrow. Isolated thunderstorms in the northern part of BC. But the temperatures still remain hot in the southern part of BC, 27 in Vancouver, and again in the northern part of BC, those isolated storms up in there. Let's take a quick look here. You can send your pictures to me at Marta Czurylowics on Twitter or the Weather Network. We look forward to seeing those from you, as we always do. I'm Marta Czurylowics. Thanks for joining us here on the Weather Network. Let's take a look at the precipitation forecast for British Columbia in through Alberta. You can see through Tuesday overnight some isolated storms up in the northern part of the province and into Wednesday evening again into northern Alberta. And you can see this is the low that's actually passing through northwestern Ontario in through northeastern Ontario, and the tail end of it coming through the north part of the prairies. And here is where the foothills will help kick up some of those storms, and you can see a risk like we have here in orange where there's a potential for heavy rainfall and small hail in the areas surrounding. You can see some isolated showers, and the heat continues in through the south part of the prairies. And then the future radar, as I mentioned, the stronger part of that front moving through into northeastern Ontario. Areas in through Timmins and Chapleau could see some of that heavy rainfall and small hail. And there is the heat for cottage country. Looks beautiful. And this is just the temperatures for the Great Lakes. They're still pretty hot, and that actually helps fuel some of those isolated showers that will come in through southern Ontario, and a precipitation forecast for the Atlantic part of the province. It will sit over Newfoundland. But let's take a look at a story about a woman who was actually bit by an infected mosquito and contracted West Nile. I'm Marta Czurylowics. Thanks for joining us here on the Weather Network. Let's talk weather events. I want to focus your attention to this little green line of storms that's coming in through northeastern Ontario today. That's where we start off our weather events. The risk area will be primarily north of the Nickel Belt in through Timmins and Chapleau area, where you could see some heavy downpours and potential for some small hail. Moving in over to BC, there is an area of high pressure situated over the southern part of BC, bringing with it some warm temperatures in from the inland and pumping in that warm temperature to you. And the third severe weather is actually happening in northern Alberta and northern BC, where that tail end of the front that's passing through Ontario brings with it the potential for some severe weather in through the northern parts of BC and Alberta. And let's talk about beating some of that heat, and there are some surprising ways to beat it. I'm Marta Czurylowics. Thanks for joining us here on the Weather Network. This is the most exciting segment. I've been waiting to do this segment. It's the animal segment that Wayne puts together, and I'm excited to share. Look at this grizzly in Alberta, just chowing down on some greens there by the post. What a cute guy. And what about this moose in Cranbrook, BC, cooling off, chowing down on some greens as well? Looks like everybody's feeding. Look at these birds in Toronto. I guess it's a mixture of ducks, geese, all cooling off and chowing down. And then a heyday in Seattle. These goats, I guess, got free from a zoo or a farm, and they're definitely mowing the lawn for this person. And what about this cougar near Tofino, paying a visit to some people on their back porch? Definitely not someone I'd like to see paying me a visit. And a family of foxes frolicking in Ontario, just having a ball, rolling around. And everybody needed to stop for this geese crossing in Niagara Falls. Look at them waddling across the road. But this, what's that swimming off in the distance? I mean, I didn't believe it when Wayne told me, but yeah, that is a skunk, and you could definitely see that by the white stripe along his back there as he crawls out of the water. And this is Nuka, our beloved pup from Newfoundland, walking along the shore there in Birchie Bay. And now, I've been dying to meet Wayne's Pepper the pup, quite literally a hot dog cooling off in a pool in Ajax. What a cute little puppy. And let's get to our weather events for today. Stick around, your local forecast is now. Now let's talk about this unusual story. These two people are actually part of a population of 3 in this place called Ship Cove in Newfoundland. So the whole place has a population of 3 people. It doesn't include the dog, but I would definitely include them. So let's take a little look here. It's not a registered town, but it does exist, and you might drive right through it. Take a look at our website at theweathernetwork.com for more. It's going to be hard to imagine cars filling the skies. I'm Marta Czurylowics. Thanks for joining us here on the Weather Network. Let's talk about the temperature for Toronto on Monday afternoon. It'll be 29, feeling like 33. In the evening, it'll be 26, feeling like 32, with a chance of thunderstorms. Let's look at the future radar, where there is a low pushing through northeastern Ontario, and it's going to cause some pop-up severe thunderstorms in through the area. We don't exactly know where. You might see one in Toronto. You might not see one in Mississauga. But the risk remains in through northeastern Ontario for Monday, in through Timmins and Chapleau. Cottage Country looking nice for Monday. It's into Tuesday that you can see the risk of those thunderstorms, and the lakes are going to be beautiful too. But while you're still on vacation, let's see how you can take better pictures. Here are some tips on how to do that. I'm Marta Czurylowics. Thanks for joining us here on the Weather Network. Let's talk about the temperatures in Toronto for Monday afternoon. 29, feeling like 33, and by the evening it's 26, feeling like 32, so it's definitely going to be hot. And I don't want you to get too caught up in that icon there. Yes, it does show a little bit of rain, but that's not coming till later in the day. Let's take a look at this future radar and energy moving through Ontario. It's coming from northwestern Ontario and moving into northeastern Ontario for tomorrow. Areas like Timmins and Chapleau will see some risk of heavy thunderstorms in through Monday, but this is where it stalls out on Tuesday evening into Wednesday. So southern Ontario, you could see a risk of some storms pop up in nature. Not necessarily everyone will see it, but there definitely is a chance in through the beginning of the week. As I mentioned on Monday, you can see the risk area here, Timmins and Chapleau, north of the Nickel Belt area, and the yellow is the risk for some non-severe thunderstorms. And I just want to draw your attention to that line here along the lakes. along Georgian Bay. But if you're still in cottage country on Monday, the long weekend, you can see 27 in Midland, 25 in Parry Sound, Huntsville 26, Haliburton 26. So it's still a beautiful day on Monday. It's Tuesday. That might get a little bit rainy for you. 23 in Haliburton, Midland 24, Parry Sound 22, cooling down just a bit. But let's take a look at the Golden Horseshoe. Toronto 29, 30 in Hamilton for Monday. Niagara Falls 28 and sunny. It's Tuesday. That's looking a little bit rainy. As I mentioned, that system sort of stalls out Tuesday evening into Wednesday, and it's a little bit rainy there for Toronto. Let's look at the 7-day forecast. Now, the beginning of the week looking a little rainy, but it's a shortened week anyways, so we're going to be at work inside anyway at all. And then on the weekend, that's when it's sunny again. So here's a quick look at Kitchener, Burlington, Markham, and Pickering. But why don't we check in with Peter Polanski, who's a player playing in Montreal, about how to beat the heat with tennis.